Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. What else? To interact with us, you can chat with us live every Thursday night on Facebook, YouTube, and we love interacting with you live. Can't get to all the comments, but remember, some of your comments may actually end up on the show, so check yourself. And as always, if you can't catch us live, catch us in the replay or on your favorite podcasting app. You know me. My name is John Ruark, past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. And all the way from another part of Virginia, Jason Richards. How's it going?
Down the street?
Yeah, it's not that far.
Yeah. 15 minutes with no traffic. Hey, everybody. Jason Richards here, past master of Vacation Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, and member of a couple other lodges around the U.S. as well. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. It's also good to see people come in the chat, like, oh, from Wyoming, from Denver, Colorado. So those are always fun.
Yeah.
It's always good to see where people are coming from.
I didn't know Bat Dad was a Mason. I'm Batman.
Bat Dad. I haven't seen those in a while.
Eat your vegetables.
That's right. Who else can we thank? We can thank the patrons who support the show. You guys are awesome. Yeah. Head over to patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable to support the show. We've been going on for a decade now, doing lots of fun things and trying to keep education going for many years to come. So,
yeah.
Thank you for support, and you guys rock.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Now it's time for everybody's favorite time of the week.
Tarot card of the week.
We have to bring extra energy since Joe isn't here.
I know. Joe isn't here to pretend that he hates it, even though he clearly loves it.
He misses it. He definitely misses it.
Yeah, so tonight we've got a nice treat for Tarot Card of the Week. We have fresh from the Kickstarter campaign, the Gourmet Tarot.
Now, see, this deck is especially special for you because what some people don't know about Jason is Jason's a foodie.
I mean, you could probably look at my waistline and be like, yes.
Oh. No more than any other Mason, but
I used to do a lot of cooking. Started really in college, and it was a big part of my life until I really had kids and got the job that I've had for the past 4 or so years, and so haven't been doing nearly as much of it as I like, although I tried to unalive myself with a suspect piece of lobster back over this weekend when I was at home by myself. So that wasn't quite fun. But what I do like to do every now and then, getting back to the tarot deck, is I like to scout out Kickstarter, and this is in the top 2 decks I've ever gotten off of a Kickstarter campaign. I showed it to the guys. Yes, the ever widening waistline of masonry. Thanks, Patrick. We appreciate you. So I showed this to the guys, and it's legit. It's clever. It is very clever. So tonight we're gonna go with, I guess I can remove that. We're gonna go with Temperance.
Ooh, let's see Temperance up close here. Of course it's a liquid.
Well, it's the pouring the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Temperance, keeping all things in balance. We're going to talk about coaching, mentoring, trying to help brothers keep themselves in check and keep themselves balanced to the needs of others.
Temper the good and the bad. So it's not just about restriction, Otherwise, it would be
Right.
called restriction. It's about tempering oneself. So that's exciting. It's
Yeah.
a good one.
Just trying to find a couple other
Yeah.
fun cards. So we got the Three of Swords,
It's a good one.
and it's knives sticking out of a peach. Oh, you really liked this one, John, the Ten of Cups.
Yes.
It's the Jello mold, and so it's the pentacles that are floating in the the gelatin. Strength is curry.
Get it.
Yeah.
I get jokes.
I'm trying to
It's very witty.
find the Ten of Swords. I think the Ten of Swords is...
Oh, yes, that's a good one, too. So, yes, if you're a fan of food and you're a fan of the tarot, definitely go get the Gourmet tarot.
The Knight of Wands is bacon.
Bacon.
Yeah.
Is there a green beans card? That's the one we're really looking for.
There is not. This is a Joe approved deck.
Okay. Well, sorry, Darren. You'll have to fund a new Kickstarter for the sequel.
Yes. Oh, favorite card of the entire deck is the Death card.
And why is that?
For those of you who don't know, this is how you present rice at a funeral in honor of the deceased, with the chopsticks sticking straight out of the rice. And so I thought this in particular was a really beautiful homage to the change and transformation that the card kind of exudes.
Yeah, when you showed me that, I was not aware of that. So I love that it was well thought out.
Yeah. This Ten of Swords ain't happening. I bet it's still in the box.
It's probably somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, that was fun.
We should get on to the topic, though.
We should get onto the topic because this is a very exciting one, which is coaching your brothers. Now, this is something I wanted to talk about for a while because I'm seeing myself doing more and more of it. And we've covered in the past different aspects of fraternal social relations, right? We've talked about being a catechism, mentor, where you actually work with someone to go over the lines and everything. We've talked about leadership in lodge, where you can rise to leadership positions, or you can actually lead from where you are. But specifically, look at this, he found it. Ten of Swords, steak knives, and
nothing like a well marbled steak. All right.
Yes, all right.
As you were saying,
Jason's happy now. But upon talking to some of the other guys here, we a lot of us do actual coaching in our jobs, and with our peers and with our coworkers and with our family members. And so I thought, that's an interesting take of something that we probably either do inherently, or we don't really explicitly call out the fact that there is a time and a place to coach your brothers in lodge.
Do more of it.
Yes. So if it's
there are
not
some
applied,
people
we
who
should
could
make it
just not do
explicit.
it at all too.
Yes, there's some people that shouldn't be coaches.
There's some people that coach poorly. Yes.
Right. So I guess to start off, one thing that would be to separate that from like your traditional like catechism ritualist or mentor, right? The purpose, the role that a catechism mentor plays is to help a new member learn their lines, like learn the back and forth, learn the answers to the oral tests that they need to pass proficiency and move on to the next degree.
Right.
Okay. So at a bare minimum, the success criteria for that is learn words, right? Which may or may not benefit the actual brother receiving this instruction.
Well, they may or may not actually derive inner meaning,
right,
based on that.
Yes,
can we talk specifics or?
Please, yeah, dive in. Let's go.
So I think one of the things that you relayed to me is, so you're helping your dad through his catechism, and one of the fun anecdotes was, you'd say, he'd go through the lines. You say, okay, so what did that mean? He's like, well, I'm just learning the lines.
It's like,
And that
I don't know.
and that is not at all throwing shade at Tom.
No, not at all.
Tom, you're awesome. But it does, it's a different purpose, right? There is learning the vocal cadence and the words to say, and then there's actually taking those words and inculcating the teachings and actually applying them. And so where coaching really comes in is in the latter. And actually building yourself into a better person, achieving the ultimate aim of the fraternity.
Exactly. Right. So that is not what we're talking. We're not talking about just the oral back and forth. We're actually talking about something that is a little bit different. Now, when you look in outside of Masonry, there's like life coaches, there's business coaches, there's career coaches. These are all different types of fields that really originate from someone who's giving advice, who's giving
perspective,
and
lessons learned.
Right. Perspective from like where they came from. And another thing that I really like a good coach is one who doesn't just tell you the answer. Because I'm not looking for a consultant to just tell me what I should do in this scenario and I'll just blindly follow it. No. A good coach.
I know some consultants if you ever need them.
That's true. But a good coach helps you find the answer yourself.
Yeah.
No,
you.
Go ahead.
Helps you arrive at an answer.
Yes.
It is very rarely is it the answer, but it's almost the ultimate kind of Socratic back and forth of answering the question with a question, right?
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that, Jason? Yeah.
Well,
exactly. Just
I'm glad you asked, John.
But yeah, and I think that's a good point. Is that's kind of where I separate the two, because sometimes in my career I am a coach and a consultant, sometime in the same meeting. And one thing I learned from one of my gurus was like, it really helps to clearly delineate which one you are in which period of time. Right. So think of it like, you kind of heard the thing where like, if your wife is kind of complaining about the day she had, the first question you should ask, or at least dance around politely, is, do you want me to solve the problem or do you want me to listen? Right.
Yeah.
Because that's a good example of one is solution oriented, one is trying to help solve something and provide recommendations. That's the consultant part. And then there's coaching. It's like, tell me more. I want to hear more about this. And what do you think the answer should be, right? You need to not lead the witness, but help them kind of work through things. So it is a valuable skill that can be grown. But again, I think inherently we kind of do that as a fraternity because we are one, society of friends and brothers who are trying to help each other out, right? Otherwise, we could do all this self-improvement on our own. And I think that's one thing we also do a disservice, is to say, great, you've got these tools now, go be a better man. Well, then, like, why go to lodge and why break bread with your brothers and stuff like that? We need to help each other out to work through some things and learn from each other. Would agree?
Yeah. I mean, that whole piece of that fellowship is something that is just, a critical component. Because in that fellowship, you learn about other experiences. Like coaching goes on, and it can go on whenever you're with your brothers. You may not, it may not be intentional, but learning your other brothers and their walks of life and how they have kind of translated the tenets of Freemasonry into their own lives and how they've benefited or not, all can be a help to you in your own journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the basic place to start, right, are like looking for advice, right? You may have, after you have to sit down with a good meal and talk about, sports and family life and everything. Well, then there's going to be the times like, hey, hey, I'm thinking about putting together a presentation. What do you think about this? Right now, we're shifting into the applied part of masonry. We're looking at giving or getting advice from another brother, right? And that's usually kind of where this kind of peer-to-peer coaching kind of starts. And you may not even realize it's happening, but you know, one thing that I enjoy is sharing knowledge, right? It's all about education, but again, like just guiding people to the right thing, not just, they can go on the internet, they can go on Wikipedia, they can Google stuff. Like I don't need to give you an answer, but I can say, hey, you might want to steer away from this author because they kind of take some liberties and don't do good historical research, or you might want to talk to this other brother who lives in that area, or who's very familiar with that aspect that you want to look into, right? Because I'm not trying to solve the problem again. I'm trying to coach them to get the answers for themselves. So I think that's valuable. Have you
Absolutely
done anything like that or experienced anything like that, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. So I recently kind of moved into more executive level leadership in my organization, and so a lot of what I do on a day-to-day basis is peer coaching. It is not my official job, but with a people focused business, especially with consulting, people make it. And so I have always tried very, very hard to make people the most important of any enterprise that I'm a part of. And so there's naturally a lot of room for coaching and mentoring. We're we do that all the time. In TMR with the brethren we interact with other brothers who have other podcasts and other brothers who have, other endeavors. We all lean on each other and coach each other. We've got MasoniCon Kansas coming up a week from Friday.
That's right.
John and I will be there, and we've had some really, really great conversations back and forth with Alex Powers, who always puts on a great show there. And so, I think learning from people is the best thing you can do to help figure out yourself and figure out how you want to live your own life. And coaching's huge.
And so, so we definitely, it's definitely helpful to respond, right? When asked for advice, for recommendations, for guidance. But lately I've also found myself taking the initiative as well. And that's kind of the next level, right? Is, okay, it's easy to help share your knowledge and help out with any perspective that you can share. But it's another thing to actively be aware and present and notice that, hey, I noticed that, you're really excited about this presentation, and you were the most awake during this brother's presentation, and I saw you wanted to learn more. So like, you take the initiative to actually go out of the way and coach. So that's something I've also been doing lately, is just to try to notice when people have strengths or interests that they could bring to Lodge that, well, look who it is.
Well, hello.
What the hell? What are you doing here?
Hello.
You're not supposed to be here.
Did I get fired?
Oh. You were going to spend time with Barbara. Happy birthday, Barbara. We love you.
Happy birthday, Barbara.
Yeah, she's not home. She's with people she likes more. So,
okay. I can't blame her.
Yeah. Yes.
Wait, is Corey in town?
No, great guess though. No, so I'm stuck eating pineapple pops by myself.
Nice.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Welcome. Welcome.
Hello. We're talking about coaching.
Who are we coaching?
Everybody.
Everybody. Let's do it.
So John, think you bring up a really good point, and I wanted to touch on the different forms of listening.
Oh, great.
As part of that. So there is a concept called active listening. It is different from, Joe just Joe talking my ear off about how much he loves green beans, and I'm just like,
yeah,
okay.
mhm,
Or I'm listening to figure out what I'm going to say in response to what he's saying right now. So if
Masons don't
he
do
and I
that.
are having a heated argument about whether or not he should wear a toupee,
Well,
I'm just
that's actually the opposite of active listening, when you are not listening and you're just formulating a response inside your mind, which is how 90% of
correct.
people actually
Really is
do
true.
conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Active listening, on the other hand, is taking time to focus yourself in on the conversation. Listen to understand, not listening to respond. When I have coaching conversations with employees and friends and peers, I put extra energy into trying to understand where they're coming from and what they're saying. Like, I just laser focus in on what they're saying, and I try my best not to formulate a response until they've stopped talking.
It's good.
I
Good one.
I hate awkward silences.
It's hard.
So it's hard. But being able to listen to understand then enables you to, one, build a better bond with that person, because they feel heard and they feel understood. And then also, it helps you understand where they're coming from so that you can better, coach them through whatever they need to, have.
Yeah, and I mean, like Joe, he's doing it right now, right? One of the easiest ways is like the head nod, eye contact. Like you're not looking around the room, or you're not. Yeah, you're not waiting. Again, just waiting, checking your watch.
Not a Clockwork Orange here.
Not. No.
Yeah.
Don't make it awkward.
Yes.
You touch on something really important, is that your body gives away a lot of tells when it comes to communication. So communication is not just, and if you already covered this, tell me to shut up. I'll go back to my spot. Communication is only about 50% verbal, and the other 50% is body language, movement, and how you interact with that person in your space. That communicates a lot of the things that you say. And like Jason's doing, I can already tell he's dismissing everything that I'm saying because he's looking off center. He's got that.
I was responding to Darren Laner's, actually.
He's active listening
yes,
somewhere else.
I was not actively listening to
He was
Joe.
not actively listening.
No, I was multitasking.
Thank you for
poorly.
The demonstration. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. No, you know what? That was totally my plan all along.
It's very illustrative. Yes.
But yeah.
There, I responded to Darren. Now I'm happy.
Good.
Indeed.
Well, cool. Now in coaching, it's best to, if you have to call someone out in love. Be direct, but at the same time, don't be a jerk like Joe just was. 10, 15
what do you say? Praise in public and
chastise in private.
Chastise in private. That's it.
It's not chastise. It's something else.
What is it's a catchphrase, but the same is true. And that's one thing I thought of in preparing for the show. One of my origin stories in Masonry was I got really excited after becoming raised and was researching all this cool stuff about all these other esoteric linkages to our degrees and stuff like that. And I go and I talk to these past masters of my lodge, my mother lodge. And I'm really excited to share some information. And they're like, huh, never heard that before. And that was it. That was the awkward
You were dismissed.
silence. Yeah. And so I was excited. I was ready to share something. I was ready to coach up. I was ready to share what I found. And it was a little bit of a wind out of my sails. And, of course, that led me just to go deeper into learning new stuff about Masonry. But
did you know that George Washington was a Mason?
That's probably what his answer was.
Yeah. Mute him, please. Did you do all that extra out of spite, or did you, just to have something more for them to ignore you on, or were you genuinely curious?
No, I was genuinely curious, but yeah, I think afterwards they were that didn't slow me down. So, but I could see where it could be a huge turnoff to someone else because of it wasn't active listening. They didn't care. They weren't there to support me. Not no harm, no foul. Like that their mind could have been somewhere else, but that's kind of the example of how I wasn't getting that feedback. Mm-hmm.
But I'm also doing a really bad thing, which is interrupting all the time. But that's just my nature. But you're kind of a rare breed, John, because most people that will encounter that situation in the space that we're in, right? We're in a Masonic lodge. We're supposed to be brothers. We're supposed to have this bond or this cord that ties us all together, or whatever other bumper sticker crap you want to throw out. And so
you want to ask one.
Oh, be the change, baby. Be the change. I lost my train of thought. No, I remember now. How many people do you think that's happened to that basically said F it and
never came back?
I don't want to share. I don't want to do. I'm just going to bow out. I would imagine it's the majority. Because it's very deflating.
I know some by name.
Yeah, it's very deflating to go to a place where your defenses should already be down because there should already be, a bond there that furthers that communication, and he basically gets cut off. So kudos for sticking it out, buddy. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm still here. What else you got, Jason? Was there anything else you wanted to go about some of the listening or?
So I think body language was also key in that. Making eye contact, repeating back. That's another piece of active listening. And so, Joe can go on and on about how much he hates green beans. And so I might take that and say, hey, let me tell you what I'm hearing just to make sure that we're on the same page, right? I'm hearing that green beans don't do it for you. So why do you think that is? Tell me more. It invites you to learn more and go deeper. Because ultimately, with coaching, a big part of it is just learning about the other person and
having them be heard. Yep.
And letting them open themselves up to you. And so it is not at all about you when you are coaching, which is why, to get to Darren Lehner's point about the past master who comes up to the newly raised Master Mason and tells him everything that he did wrong, like that's all about the past master who's giving the coaching. It's an ego inflationary device. And
Good
that's
point.
not coaching.
Mm-hmm.
That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to wait till Jason said his last little word before I started talking. But no, so there is a thing in human nature. This is stepping outside of masonry. And you've all been in a business context. You guys have all been in staff meetings or conferences or whatever. There is a human tendency to want to contribute when you have a group that is discussing things, right? Even if you have nothing of value to contribute, and even if the only thing you're going to say is basically going to repeat what the guy next to you said in a different way, you have a driving need to want to contribute, right? And it doesn't have to be useful, but we just have, and I know it sounds funny, but I'm really not trying to be funny. It's people have a tendency, if you're in a group of 10 people and 8 of them are talking, the other 2 are dying to say something, even if it's repetitive, even if it's redundant, or even if it covers something that's already been covered, because we want to be part of the group, right?
Well, Joe, you make an interesting point there, because I really do think people just want to be heard. And
the reason, even if they have nothing new to bring to the conversation, they just want to get something out there on the table. And again, I see it all the time in like business meetings and stuff, where somebody will say something, and then 5 minutes later, somebody else will say the exact same damn thing with just 2 different words. And everybody's like, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I like what he said.
It's more about being heard than it is, even contributing anything of substance.
Right. But people need that.
See what I did there?
That's right.
This is a very practical episode. I like this.
No.
Oh, we can talk coaching till the cows come home.
Yeah. Now I want to go back. I want to go back to social.
So I mean, so Darren, you bring up something really important. I mean,
Social media.
It's true, and if y'all disagree, please chime in. It's true, but it's not true. There's a big difference between being in that group setting and contributing something,
and an echo chamber,
versus being in an echo chamber, or even in a place where you get no reinforcement, positive or negative whatsoever. Like you put some stupid crap out on your Facebook feed, and it just lives out there. You don't care what the comments say. You're just putting your thing out there, right? Or you're there to just incite something. It's way different than John, Jason, and Joe being in a room, and I say some stupid shit, and I'm getting reinforcement right away. Like, what are you talking about? Or that's kind of dumb. Or you probably shouldn't say that. Or that's really inappropriate. Usually the latter is what happens when the three of us are in a room. But I disagree. I think social media is more not wanting to be heard. It's more, I'm just going to put stuff out there without repercussion. You know?
Yes.
So that's me.
At a minimum, right? The separation between what you post on social media and that interaction, like you said, there is a barrier there, right? You're not in the same room. You're not able to get punched in the face as easy, right?
Yes,
they actually have to drive over and punch you in the face.
You might sell fewer stickers, but it's okay.
Be the change. Be the change.
Be the change.
So there is one thing I wanted to go back to. A line you said that I am like all about is Socratic questioning.
Yes.
Right. So based off of Socrates or Socrates, depending on which movie from the 80s you watch. It's a style.
What about Socrates?
Socrates. It's a style of questioning that doesn't give an answer, usually follows with a question, but the questions are meant to be divergent. They are meant to expand the topic rather than try to find a solution. And so these are questions like you were going, example, I heard you say you're not a fan of green beans. Can you tell me more about that? I'm curious as to why that is. What experience in the past led you to that, right? These aren't yes or no questions, right? These are questions that are interrogating, they're opening, and it's, if done correctly, it's for the recipient's benefit, right? You're getting them to think, well, why is it that I don't like green beans? Did I have a bad experience? Yeah, and then you follow up and say, tell me more about that one experience you had, right? So
it's that standard therapist, like,
it's a good
reaction
example.
of
Mm-hmm.
How did that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Or why do you think that is? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did you get to that conclusion?
No, but I was going to, I think you're spot on from the psychological aspect, right? Because it, like John said, the purpose of Socratic questions when you're having a conversation with someone is to get more detail about what the thought is, right? To go deeper, go that next step further. It's also good for the person who is talking about the topic to become introspective or retrospective, right? So to just get down to the nitty gritty on why Joe hates green beans. What's that deep underlying trigger, right? But it really helps promote self-discovery, when you ask those questions in a right way, right?
Yeah. So I actually had a perfect example this week. I was chatting with a new bro, and he's like, "What book should I read?" I'm like, okay, tell me what you're interested in. Like, because I got a lot of recommendations, but I need to know more about, where you're coming from, what faith structure you have, what's kind of interesting to you right now, because that will help me provide a better recommendation. I'm not just going to say, "Oh, Freemasons for Dummies, it's number one all the time." Like, you know what I mean? I want to ask follow-up questions, active listening, Socratic questioning, so that way I can give a better experience to that brother.
How deep do you want to go?
Yes. Down the rabbit hole. So yes, so Socratic questioning is amazing. Of course, it can be to a fault, right? You can just ask all these why questions and never get there. That's not the point.
Leading questions too. You don't have to get deeper. You could kind of lead the topic. Like, do I want a TikTok author or do I want Manly P. Hall? Right? Like, that'll kind of point people in a certain direction where you want them to go. By getting something.
TikTok author?
I know at least one.
I know
Okay.
a couple. I've seen a couple. You know, yeah.
Fair.
Yep.
Well, and that's and two, like this gets to another good point, coming back to, not listening to respond. Asking questions back again keeps the focus on the coachee and keeps the ego in check, because when you're coaching, you don't want to give someone like advice that doesn't resonate with them
Mm-hmm.
or isn't remotely like what they're looking for and interested in. Now, I'm not saying you tailor your message to what you think they want to hear,
Sure.
but asking questions, learning more about them and where they're coming from enables you to give them more tailored feedback, specifically to them.
Right. I could see that.
See, now Joe's not actively listening.
No, I was thinking about what you said as you were
Pregnant
saying,
pause.
because you said, say what you said again.
So asking questions and learning about them and where they're coming from enables you as the coach to better respond to their needs.
Yeah, you said something just before that about not giving them the answer, kind of, sort of like, or leading them down a certain way. But in some cases, you are doing that. Like going back to John's original question, hey, I want to read Masonic books. What should I read? You've gotta get to the things that person wants first. Like, hey, are you into history? Are you into the weird stuff? Are you into ritual? Are you into why aprons are pretty? Like what's your flavor out of this big concept that we call masonry? And then your answers are going to be tailored, right? And they are going to go down a certain road. So,
and you're gonna, and the coachee is going to figure out sometimes that what they thought they were interested in, they are not interested in. And that's a good learning movement too, or learning moment, excuse me.
That is true. Yeah. Because they, that's why you're giving some advice, right? Mm-hmm. So another thing kind of related to me wanting to share with that past master is just like with leadership, and I've said this in the leadership episodes and I'll say it again, I believe you can lead anywhere you are. You do not need to have an officer position. You do not need to be a past anything. You just need
lead
to have,
from the back row.
That's right. You need to have some zeal for the fraternity. And if you have something you want to share, share it. So the same is also true for coaching.
To a point.
Say more, Jason. Sounds like you've had an interesting experience about that.
well, no, I think, case in point, on social media, we have seen posts in a bunch of different jurisdictions that have been inundated on political events that have recently transpired. And so people have something to say, they're going to say it. But the focus is not on coaching others. It is on them and making sure that they are being heard. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, but it is not coaching. If you are saying something with the purpose of making yourself heard or getting across, what you want to get across, that is not coaching.
Yes, and I was thinking just purely in a lodge Masonic context, not necessarily outside of the lodge or yeah, any other social political aspect. But I hear you. So, but even then, you can want to share, you can want to lead, just like I did. When I was like, hey, look at this cool thing I found, and the guy's like, not interested. Like, good for you, but that's I got some green beans I got to go over here and eat. So,
but I think that's okay. Now, how you do it is where the rub is. But if you have someone who is coming to you asking for coaching advice, and it is just not your area.
Ha, true.
I think it is perfectly fine to say, hey, you know what? I'm happy to listen, but I'm not going to come from a place where I can give you insight and guidance. However, this guy over here
Mm-hmm.
knows all the freaky shit about Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
So go talk to him.
But that's very counterculture from a generational perspective when it comes to Masonry, right? You've got
Yes.
at least 2 generations of people. And, we talked about this on the leadership episode that I was on. Not everybody is meant to be a leader, and that's
What?
being a Mason does not make you a leader. In that same vein, just the virtue of being a Mason does not make you a good mentor. It doesn't, but there is, and it's not an age thing. It's a way that people practice Masonry thing, where when I say generationally, that there's at least 2 active generations now that believe because of the virtue of their position or their tenure,
The
that
rank.
they are
Yep.
qualified to mentor others. And many times it's to someone's detriment.
Yes, absolutely. We've all seen that.
But again, it's really a societal thing, right? Like, not everybody can be a leader. Not everybody should be a mentor. So you got to understand that and know that and not do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be the
so
change. Be the
so
change.
there is a thing called there's another term that I like that's in the executive coaching thing, which is intellectual humility. It's a phrase that basically means be smart enough to know what you don't know. Right?
Yes.
And be wise to say it's okay to say I don't know. Those 3 words are very powerful. They are okay to say. You won't get hurt if you say those out loud. So when you're helping someone out and they're like, hey, that's really cool. Do you know anyone who knows anything about, Preston and what he did on the night of July 18th, when he was 30? I don't know. Don't make it up. Don't try to give an answer. Just say, I don't know.
And you don't have to have an answer.
And you don't have to have an answer. That is okay.
You are touching on some serious psychology stuff, right? When it comes to people and the way that they act in the world around them. And we can
But that's what coaching is. It's all about people.
No, absolutely. And I think, the thing you just touched on, John, is people don't realize that, and when you grow up in a corporate environment or not, when you work in an environment that has different levels of leadership, those things get easily sussed out. And Masonry is a perfect example of that. You've got your 2 types of I know we're going back to leadership, but it really has to do with coaching or mentoring. 2 different kinds of top people that feel that they have to have this facade of knowing everything, going back to that intellectual humility.
Answer
or your true leaders that know that they don't know the answer, are very comfortable with it, and know to surround themselves with people that do have those answers and are comfortable in their space. And that applies so much to Masonry, right? Because you've got people that walk around in Masonry, and I've done this sometimes, right? I feel like I have to be the one that knows it, right? So I'll quickly go, find it out, and then I'll suddenly become an expert on it. But no, there are people that feel that they have to know everything or have the right answer about everything. And which again can lead to problems, especially when you're coaching newer Masons or mentoring newer Masons. Well, this is the answer. Is it really? Or did you just read it in a book or on a blog or something, or watch it on a video?
Well, and it gets back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of the episode around rote memorization, right? Are you simply just parroting back what you've heard and what you've seen, or has there been synthesis? Has there been thought applied to it? Have you made it your own?
That's a sore issue with me.
Huh.
It hurts me. Yeah, and I know we weren't going to talk about ritual tonight, and I won't talk about ritual, but I will say.
Well, had you shown up on time?
Sorry. Blame Barbara.
See, that's bad coaching.
That's bad. Bad.
That's
coaching.
bad coaching.
Now I'm closed off and I don't want to talk to you, but I will.
Look at the body language.
I know.
No, it's the different types of mentors that you have. This is a great example of it. So I did a few catechism coaching stints with people. And I would always get criticism. I won't call it constructive criticism, but criticism about the way that I did it. Because when I taught it, yeah, we would do the rote memorization stuff, but then we spend another good half of that amount of time talking about what it meant. Like, hey, what does this word mean? What does heal mean? What does that mean? Where did this come from? Why is that a symbol? And the older persnickety Masons would say, why is it taking you so long to go through catechism with a candidate? I'm like, because he's actually learning shit. So,
Right.
as opposed to just parroting. But yeah, it was two different sets of feedback I would get. One feedback was, I'm taking too long. And the feedback coming from the end user was, this is awesome. I love doing catechism because I'm learning stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
So same thing happening, two different sets of feedback coming back.
Yeah, I was lucky enough when I was going through my catechism with David Hill, my signer and mentor. We'd go a line, and then he'd be like, "So, what does this mean?" And we go through it, right? And he didn't have answers for everything, but he had a really really great perspective, and he just reinforced, hey, it's not enough to know the words.
That's
The
great.
words just by themselves are meaningless if you don't actually take the time to synthesize and digest.
Mhm. Yeah. So
Thank-
just the last thing I just want to pull back to the, lead where you are or coach where you are is that you don't have to have a formal role in order to
Sure.
reach out or give advice, right? To either find people to help or to wait for them to ask you, because we're all on the level, right? And you have something to share, then that's something that we should be helping each other out as a fraternity and friends and brothers. So that's a key thing I just wanted to make sure we threw in there too, because I think there's a lot of, in my experience, some of the brothers have reached out to me. They're like, I have a lot of cool things I want to share, but I don't know where to start. Right. And I want to encourage that, right? Because yes, absolutely. Like that, don't like to start lining up to go speak at a lodge. Like just go, like just start doing. I've probably said that at least 3 times in the past 2 months to different brothers. Like, don't wait, just go. Like let's
go until you get a yes.
Exactly.
Not everybody's gonna say yes. That's
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
Right. But and that's another thing too that I found too when kind of coaching brothers is, I know that we've had people reach out to the show, some we know, some we don't know, but just like, hey, I'm not finding the weird people like me in my lodge. So what do I do? Right. And
My
right,
lodge is terribly normal.
Call me girl. That's what you do.
So yeah, so one of the roles is like, hey, like you may be interested in this other lodge, or you may find, go find your weirdos, go find your community of, history buffs or esoteric nerds or whatever, right? Like that's also part of, again, finding people's strengths. And it doesn't have to be education, right? Another thing that I learned early on in my kind of my officer training to become master of the lodge is, there are brothers who maybe just social butterflies, right? They are the guys that they might be 87 years old, but they are there on time for every meeting. They're early. They love talking to everybody. You're like, great, you're our lodge greeter. You know what I mean? Like you build them up, you find their strengths, and you give them a job to do, right? So that is another way you can coach someone. So it's not just sharing knowledge or education, but it's identifying their strengths and then helping them grow in that. Yes, Joseph.
Dr. Ruhr. Yes, I think you make an excellent point about people, finding strengths and letting them run with it. I think the other half that I think gets missed a lot is follow up and make sure that they're succeeding, right? It's like, perfect example, like you get a brother who, like you said, you got the social butterfly. He wants to do this, wants to do that. Like you take the quiet brother who will sit in the library and read for hours and hours and hours and say, hey, you're interested in this. Maybe you should give a program, or maybe you should write a paper about something you want to do. And then you leave it there, right? There's no follow-up. Like, it's never going to get done. And he's got no reinforcement or desire or motivation to actually pursue that journey, right? So you've lit that fire, but then you've let the pilot light go out. And that's on you as a coach and a mentor to not do that follow-up. It's not great. It's not good to just have one great idea and then walk out the door, and slam the shutters and, walk off into the sunset. You got to follow up and follow up and follow up.
Yeah.
And follow up. It's filling the uncomfortable silence. And y'all know I can do that all day long.
Pregnant pauses are interesting too when you actually are engaged, right? When you have someone that's another like little therapy trick too, is to, if someone's talking and you don't want to just jump in with that answer, right? You want to give them the opportunity to let that stew for a bit and
let it sink in. Yeah,
savor it. Mm-hmm.
Like green beans.
Savor those green beans.
Savor.
All right, we're at that time of the show for final question of the night. And so, what advice would you give to a new or well-seasoned brother who wants to grow in their ability to coach other brothers? Joe, take it away.
That was a ridiculously pregnant pause. So, sorry I was late, y'all. Sorry I missed the beginning of the show. I actually did have a lot to talk about in this, so I'm sorry I missed the first 20 minutes, but it probably got a lot less interrupting towards John and Jason, so I'm sure they were grateful that I was late. But just some basic coaching skills that you can apply to Masonry. Be present in your conversations and your dialogues and your conversations with brothers. Be present. That's both, in body and mind, and how you communicate with them. Use effective questions instead of just BS, simple follow-up. Have effective questions, like John said, using Socratic questions. Be clear in your communication with people. I think one of the most important things is showing empathy and understanding when someone is coming to you for coaching or mentorship, or how to be a coach or a mentor. Be empathetic to the things that they want to impart onto others. And it'll build a more trusting relationship between you and that person. And I think one thing we didn't talk about, which we probably could have a whole nother episode on, is if you're going to be a coach or a mentor to someone and they come for help and you give them help, break it up and set goals, and give them something to achieve. Like I said, we could probably talk goal setting is an entire other episode, especially in Masonry, but give them things that they can be successful to show that they're making progress. Again, that's just some high level stuff. Sorry I was late. Green beans suck. And have a good night.
Tell me more about green beans, Joe.
No, we're out of time.
Oh, look at the time. Jason.
Oh, look at the time. Two things. Closely related. One, it's not about you. Coaching is never about you.
Gasp.
And the sooner that you fully buy into the fact that you become completely absorbed with the other person when you're coaching, or you should, not in a creepy way. And because of that, you got to keep your ego out of it. You cannot lead with ego and be a coach who has a huge impact in a positive way on others. That's not to say don't be confident, but the moment you make it about you is the moment when you stop being a coach.
Amazing. Love it. Yeah, I mean, all I could say is I can't add anything more than what you guys have said, because you stole all the good answers. But I'll end with How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a really good book that is a good start for basically starting with the other person. Have true care and empathy, like Jason said, for the other person, and like don't just fake it, but actually believe it. Like, actually, I'm there for you. I'm active listening for you. I'm doing this for you, not for me. And I think most of the dialogue, the social issues will work itself out because we're there as friends and brothers, right? We're here to be a society together, not just a bunch of guys trying to nerd out and cosplay about masonry. So with that, it's been a great episode, and I'm looking forward to the next one. So thank you all very much for watching. I keep searching for more light. Have a good night.